Hi everyone, it's Henrietta and Heather, and welcome to a Millennial Podcast, where we dive deep into the life of our 30s.
We'll discuss our struggles, dreams, relationships, icks, and anything millennials can relate to. Sit back, relax, and let's head on this journey together. We are 30s Unfiltered. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast.
Back.
Today we're diving into a topic that hits close to home: boundaries and how to set them. Boundaries are essential for maintaining our well-being, but they can also be challenging to navigate. So let's get into understanding boundaries and why they're important. So boundaries are a guideline we set for ourselves to protect our values, needs, and limits. They help us maintain healthy relationships, prevent burnout, and foster self-respect. There are different types of boundaries, including physical, emotional, mental, and time boundaries. Okay. So each type plays a crucial role in maintaining balance and well-being. So what I want to get into is, how do we perceive boundaries? I guess it would be different how we perceive them now or like a year ago, right? Since we both said that we barely just kind of are learning and navigating how to set boundaries. So I want to get into, let's get into how we used to perceive boundaries.
For me, like I said, it's been more than a year that I feel like I started understanding boundaries more and thinking it's okay to set boundaries and not feeling like I'm, I guess, a bad person for it, or that I'm mean, or that I don't care about someone because of it. Because I don't know. I always heard about boundaries, but I don't think I thought of it as being something I didn't have until I talked about it more and realized that, like, I'm a people pleaser, right? So for me, it's always been very hard to put boundaries on limiting like how available I make myself for my friends, how much I give of myself. Like, I give away my time, energy, my affection, my emotions. Like, literally, I'll give away so much of myself to people that I'm with, even people that I'm not physically with, like in the moment, I'll still give so much to. And I guess I was afraid that if I stopped, then I would lose that friend or whoever it was. Boundaries, which is something that I didn't honestly think about, because I didn't realize that there was a balance. Exactly that, like you said in the beginning, what it is, like, that you can balance your availability. Because I think for me, that's the biggest thing, like being available and just giving so much of myself. That's just my
Right.
own perception of boundaries. But I know what it means. I know a lot of different types of boundaries. For me, that's what I needed to focus on and still need to work on a lot because I'm not there yet.
Right. I think it's just the implementation of it, right? Because we can know so many things, but it makes a difference when you're actually putting things into action. I guess I didn't really know what boundaries were. I really didn't, until I started doing all this personal development. And so I was always confused, going based off of my feelings, my emotions. I tend to get very, very angry. And so I would just really react to things instead of thinking about things logically. You feel guilt, you can't really set limits, especially, being a mom. You have to really set boundaries with your kids or they are going to run you. And also, like, at the same time, they're the ones that are also going to be suffering as a result. There was a sense of being overwhelmed with, like, being demanded by people, again, giving your time. Then that led to, like, me being burnt out, because what did I want to do? I always wanted to be a people pleaser. And so I'd make everybody happy around me. The people pleasing tendency would leave me to self-sacrifice and neglect myself. And so then I wasn't really doing a lot of self-care. There was a lack of self-love. And then it led to a lack of self-worth at the end. And so it really did lead me to this space of just confusion.
I'm the same way. I think what I've noticed that I've seen from those times where I have, given so much of myself and then neglecting my own time or, and also like I don't mind doing things for my friends. I really don't. Like I love helping them. I always offer to do things to help them. But I think where it hurts is when I offer something to someone and then they never offer it in return. And it's
Right.
usually the same people that I help a lot and that doesn't help me back. And from learning boundaries, or at least attempting to learn boundaries, and looking inward as well as looking outward to the people around me, seeing if they have more boundaries than me in our relationship and what we both put into the friendship or the relationship, that's where if I see that I are doing more, then I'm like, okay, I need to actually put more boundaries here because it's taking too much of my time. I can feel with like every ounce of my body when I'm with someone and they give me energy. Like I leave feeling refreshed. And I can feel the same thing when I'm with someone and I leave feeling drained. That's also something that I'm like, when I have that feeling, I should just tell myself to put more boundaries on that specific relationship so that I don't have to, yeah, not let myself be too available and always jump to be there all the time for everyone because I mean I just can't anymore. I just can't. It's too much. And I love my friends and I really want to be there for everyone, but it's exhausting.
No, I agree. I think there is a limit. And one thing that I'm actually learning right now, I'm in a leadership program. I've been in a leadership program for the last 2 years. You can really learn to set boundaries for yourself and with other people, but also being a contribution to others. And what does that look like, right? Everyone's different. And I think for me, it's setting myself up where I have a structure in place, the things I need to do, the things that need to get done in my life so that my life can work, and seeing where I can fit everything else that I also want to contribute to, which is helping other people in their lives, right? So basically just kind of looking at that and then setting boundaries as needed where it's just kind of like, hey, I would really love to help you, but I just don't have the time. And maybe sometimes you just don't have the space, you don't have the mental capacity to help somebody out. And that's okay, but you just have to communicate it. So what I'm coming to learn is everything can be resolved within communication. And it also depends on how you communicate it, right? What we say to people and how we make them feel really does leave a lasting impression on them. And especially if you do cherish and value your relationships, which I know you do, you just kind of have to approach it with love and respect.
I have been on both sides of the I guess I don't know what to call it, but like and it's usually been a text message. It has rarely been an in-person interaction where it's coming from either me or someone else that I need to kind of step away from this friendship or whatever it is. And because X, Y, and Z, it's very hard to read between the lines. And a lot of the times we have different communication styles. A lot of things get lost in translation. I have lost friends over it, both coming from like my end and from the other end. And it's hard because sometimes like you realize that you actually had to like lose that friend. There's one time years ago where I had a friend who I thought was like going to be my friend for the rest of my life. And I met her literally, like, she was one of the first friends I made in LA in 2012. Like, the first day at school, we met during international orientation.
What's her name? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Listen, you know who you are. We hung out a lot. We were super close. Like I was basically part of her family. Like I had clothes at her house. I would go over after school. I would cook. there. Like I knew where everything was in the house. I helped like organize her husband's closet. I helped like whenever she had a party or wanted to like decorate for a holiday, like I helped. Like I went grocery shopping with her and her kid. I literally was like a family member. And um I kept asking her to like hang out and whatnot. And this was like years into our friendship. And all of a sudden she just would never respond, or she would always say that she couldn't. And then she would never ask me back, which is, I mean, this is one of my pet peeves. And just in general, I don't like a one-way communication. And because this is something that really, it bothers me because I feel like then I'm the only one that's putting in effort, that I'm always the one that I have to ask to hang out. And that's something that I know some of my friends, they have told me straight up, like, I'm really bad at it. Like, I'm trying to be better, but like, I hope you don't ask me or stop asking me to hang out just because I'm bad at it. So like that is different. But when they don't say anything and I have to ask over and over, then I'm like, it gets to a point where it almost becomes like a resentment, you know? So I kept asking her, and this went over 6 months where I was asking her to hang out, and she could never hang out, but she never asked me, like, what about this day? Or she would never reach out. And all of a sudden, I just felt like the urge to say something because I just like thought we were good enough friends for me to be able to say something. And I said it in a very respectful way, came from a place of love, and I got the most obnoxious message back where it was like I was needy as fuck. I couldn't understand her life at all, that she wanted to be home with her husband, blah blah blah. Like she sent me a link to an article that said how to break up with a needy friend, all because I wanted there to be two-way communication. And I'm like, I've been there for you so much. Literally, like cleaned your house, babysat your kid. Like, how am I needy when I come and I help you? I don't, I haven't asked her for anything than like her time to be with her. That's it. I remember I was just like, that's not what I was trying to say at all. Like, at first, I immediately became in like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, it's my fault, which I hate. Like, that's the people pleaser in me because, like, I was being very nice and she was being very disrespectful with her answer, right? And I mean, I have replayed those messages in my head multiple times. Years later, I think it's been almost 7 or 8 years, and I still sometimes think about it. And that's why I need boundaries. I wish I just felt like I could tell someone sooner and not feel like it had to go so far for me to kind of like explode. Not that I did, because I was respectful, but then I don't know, it'd be something that it doesn't have to be. Does that make sense?
Right. No, that makes sense. I think one thing that we fail to do nowadays is actually pick up the phone and have a real conversation. And like texting is not communicating. I'm sorry. If you think texting is communicating, you're wrong. Texting can be perceived through the lens of someone else. And so they can take your message in a completely different way. And so I believe that you need to have a phone call with somebody, especially if you're having these tough conversations. You can't have tough conversations through text message because it doesn't end well. I want to say that she did, value you and your friendship. Maybe she just didn't know how to communicate it. He had feelings within her, and also maybe resentments that she was holding on to that she wasn't communicating. Then it just became this back and forth thing of like, you're making me feel this way, you're making me feel that way. And also, it's okay that things went sour, and maybe that is a relationship that you don't want to keep, and that's okay too.
Yeah, like we had the most fun times. Like I looked at the photo album from those years recently, and like I treasure those times that we had together, but would I want her to be my friend now after that? No. Do I miss her after that? No. Honestly, I don't. Like I just um I cherish the times. Like I just watched an episode of Gilmore Girls this morning, and it was an episode where Lorelai finds a jacket that Luke's ex-girlfriend used to own, and he was like like, oh, didn't want her to have it because he wanted to have it because of the memories. And he was like, I'm not pining, I'm just remembering. Like he wanted to have the momentum just for like the memory and not because he was like pining after her still. And I like that analogy that like I can hold on to a memory and or a momentum and just kind of remember it and not like pine over it and wish it was still here. You know, I have gone through a lot of friends, especially in LA, because I feel like it's more common for people to move in and out of LA. Some people I miss, some I don't. Some I'm just like, I'm glad we're not friends anymore because what the hell do we have in common in the first place? Like, I've had some friendships where it was work and that
Yeah.
it's like that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously relationships take work, right? But it's do you guys align in your values, your morals, and it goes back to are you depleted? Are you receiving energy back? Are you, like, is it fun? Are you having fun? Is there love present? I think all those things play a factor for sure. I want to get into why it's important to set boundaries. And obviously we're already kind of talking about the importance of it, but I really want to get into why it's crucial for our well-being.
I mean, I have an example and you're in it actually. And like not in a negative way. But you know, when both you were moving, Grisel was moving, I was in the middle of finals and I had so much going on in school and I was helping her move out. I was starting to help you move out and like do all like the spring cleaning in your home and everything. And I mean, I wanted to. Here's the thing. I really wanted to help both of you. And then I had so much work to do in my master's, which, you know, that's a lot of work. And Grisel's the one that she was like, you're doing too much for everyone else. Like you need to set boundaries even with me. Cause like I was helping her a lot at that time and I wanted to, but she's like, you need to focus on yourself because then I didn't have any time for myself. I barely had time to do my assignments. I was literally like doing I think I was doing some tests. I was in class and I was finishing my assignments like at Grisel's house before we were going out just because like I wanted to. And so that is a good example. And like because you live so far away, I was like, you know, took time to drive and then I was like, oh, I actually have to go. I think I was doing homework at your place at one point too. It's hard because I still want to do these things for my friends, especially the ones that I know are going to give it to me back. But then I'm like, well, I'll figure it out. But then I probably shouldn't have. You know, I feel like because in those regards, I didn't feel like there was need for a boundary because I just, well, it's my friend. I'm gonna help, you know?
Right. No, yeah, totally. And I think that, well, first of all, I love you and thank you for helping me and being there through a time in my life where I really needed support. And so I acknowledge you for being there for me and neglecting yourself.
Well, especially when it's something life changing like that, then I will put my friends in front of myself, you know, like that's just who I am. I've always been that way. I always will be that way for the people that I love. Um, but yeah, it's just the balance is hard, you know?
Yeah.
And if you were, you know, someone that was like that all the time, like you needed constant like support, constant hand holding, then I probably would need to set some more boundaries. But of course, you were going through something big, and so was Grisel. And so there wasn't even a question in my mind that I was not going to help you. You know, it was just bad timing that happened kind of at the same time.
Yeah. Hey, you expanded yourself, right? You know
We'll
that you could have done, you did a million things. But yeah, no, it's definitely important for us to prioritize our self-care and still maintain our autonomy and still at the same time communicating our needs effectively, right? And it's important to recognize that setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-care and self-respect. And it benefits everybody that's involved. let's get into some practical tips for setting boundaries. Yeah.
Mhm. Let's do it.
Okay. So we have a list here where it's like what, by the book of how you should set boundaries. So let's dive into it. You want to go do the first couple ones?
Well, the first tip is to identify your needs. And this means that you need to take some time to reflect on what's important to you and what you need in various areas of your life. And if it helps, you can write a list of things that are like your number one priority, number two priority, and then things that you want to have time to do, but they're not the most important thing. And then you can see kind of how that fits into your relationships or just the things that you need to do. Like you have to go to work. If you have kids, you have to take care of your kids and all those things. I think that's a big thing, just to figure out like your priorities and what's important to you. And then the second one is, like we just said, to communicate clearly. And here it's important to use assertive and also respectful communication to express your boundaries to others. Maybe don't text it. I mean, I have done this before because, and I was going to say this earlier, but a lot of people hate conflict. I'm not a big fan of conflict, but and this is what I truly believe, that if the person is important to you, they will be able to handle it. Like they can handle a conflict if it's someone that you actually care about and you want the relationship to thrive. That a relationship is important to you, then you can handle, conflicts.
Conflict avoidant here. Hey, just it dep honestly, I feel like it depends on what stage of life you're in, if you can handle it or not.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. I just repaired a relationship with one of my friends. I was telling you the other day, and we hung out, right? We had a falling out probably like maybe 2 years ago, maybe a little bit over 2 years ago. And it was something so petty, something so small. But at that time, I just I just shut down and just kind of cut her out. I didn't say anything. It was just shit went hit the fan. And then I didn't say anything. 2 years later, I messaged her, made sure it was okay that I could reach out to her, like, hey, I know things didn't pan out the way that we expected it to, and I really value our friendship. Do you think I can call you and we can have like a discussion about what happened? So basically, we repaired the relationship. We both said our piece of what was there, and now we're friends. And I think now the best thing is we can set those boundaries and also still obviously respect the relationship and respect each other for where we're at. But like 2 years ago, I would have avoided it like the plague. So I feel like you just have to respect people for where they're at. And if they, like I feel like you can repair any relationship if you really want to. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of work, and a lot of giving up whatever narrative that you have painted about them in your head. And you're really going to have to come from love and respect and just a lot of love, girl.
But it only works if both of you are willing to make it work. And if you both want to.
Right.
Because if one of you want to, then it's like, well, it doesn't matter.
True, true. Yeah.
Because point, some of the relationships that are no longer and people that are no longer in my life, I'm glad. And I think I've told you, and I've told a lot of my friends, I've been doing some spring cleaning over the past, like, I want to say 5, 6 years, where I just don't have it in me anymore to give and give and give and have so many people that I feel like I have to call just because we've known each other for a long time, or like there's history, or like because I try to keep in touch with all my friends, and it has been hard living, you know bicontinental, and there's a time difference, and I don't see them that often. and we all have different lives. But when one thing that I've really learned, I think is that a boundary? I don't know. When I'm with someone, I really take an inventory on how many questions they ask me about my well-being in my day, because I have gotten rid of so many friends because I realized they only talk about themselves. They only come to vent, which is fine. That's what friends are for. But then they never ask about me, not even one thing. And for
Yeah.
like friends that I used to have, like, why? Like, I'm not your therapist. Like, I'm sorry, like that might be harsh, but I'm not. And it's just not okay. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you need to look inwards because you're
Yeah.
selfish.
Also, like one thing, that you are learning is being responsible for the way that you're allowing people to treat you. And so if
Yeah.
you're just because also I have the same fucking issue. People are coming to me, they're venting to me, they're crying to me, and I'm just like, come, come, baby, come. Let me just, let me rock you to sleep. Like, but you really have to say, like, this is where the boundary comes in. Like, hey, I really love you and I really want to help you, but I just don't have the space right now to hold for you. But just don't make it mean that I don't love you because that's not the case. It's just I don't have the space right now. And also, yeah, you're right. Like people, again, we live in a world, this is a world of people that don't give a shit about anybody but themselves. Sorry. Like, and it's the same thing. Like you care about you, I care about myself. Everybody cares about themselves because we are the center of our own universe. And
Mhm.
so when people don't know how to contribute, to others, they just live in their bubble.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe you have to just kind of make them aware of that. I don't know. And it's not your responsibility to make that either. So you have a choice to kind of just drop them like flies, honey, like you have been, and just move forward and build your other relationships and make those ones stronger. I feel like our relationship has grown to another level and we are able to communicate even
Yeah.
like when we get annoyed of each other or whatever, if we're like, we just will kind of give each other space or we'll communicate it. And I feel like it works, right? And I would hope that if anything was bothering you, and I feel like I have said this to you before, if there's anything that I upset you with or anything, just please communicate it to me so I'm aware and you're not kind of just holding things against me as time
Um,
goes by.
certain things aren't worth like bringing up in a relationship if you know it's gonna potentially ruin it. Like, you gotta pick your battles, right? Because
Right.
certain things, I'm sorry, but certain things you just cannot tell certain people. Like, there are some people that are just too sensitive, or it's going to hurt their feelings, and you don't want to hurt their feelings, or something that they can't control, they can't change. And so if it's something like petty, but it's like really annoying you, then like, yeah, you should say it and then maybe see what happens. But certain things, it's not, at least in my case, it hasn't been worth it. And I'll just vent to someone else about it. If he
I'm
doesn't,
laughing because I know exactly what you're saying right now. We've had multiple conversations about this.
yeah,
And yeah, every time I say like, oh yeah, you can communicate, tell people how you feel, blah, blah, blah. She's like, wait, no, there's only certain things you can say to certain people because some people just do, again, meet people where they're at. Some
yeah.
people just are unable to receive certain communication and make it mean something about them. And then I don't know, I feel like it's just like they're projecting their insecurities on you of why they can't or why they justify
Hmm.
um, the way that they're reacting.
Yeah, because I think for our relationship, for example, I think that what we're good at is that neither of us take things personally. If we bring up something, it's like, well, it's nothing personal. It's just like maybe think about this next time, or and I understand people taking things personal, even though that wasn't what it was meant to be, but certain people just do, and we're different.
Friend, yeah, I'm different.
We are on number three for the tips because we got a little off track. Be consistent. Stick to your boundaries consistently to establish trust and respect. This is a hard one. And that's all I'm going to say
Okay.
because I'm still working on that.
Okay. So the next tip is to practice self-care, right? We prioritize our self-care, the activities that recharge us, and we honor our boundaries. Okay. This is huge. I think that once you really start to practice self-love, like it's your
Mm,
whole world changes because
yeah.
you start to respect yourself, you start to respect other people. Well, I don't know if you start to respect other people. That's on you. But for me personally, I respect myself, which leads me to treating others how I treat myself with respect. It goes back to like I'm gonna make sure that I'm on time. If I say I'm gonna be there at a certain time, I'm gonna be there because why? I respect your time and I respect my time,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
I used to be the person that always would show up and I'm still working on it and I'm human, but like I would always be like 20 minutes late, half an hour late. Oh, sorry, this. No. Now I'm responsible. I get up early. I
Mm-hmm.
make sure I'm there whenever I say I'm going to be there. And if I can't be there, I'm communicating it to you. Why?
Yeah.
Because I respect you. Why?
Yeah.
Because I respect myself.
Sorry, when it comes to like being on time and stuff like that, that is a big cultural thing. I have noticed with all of my friends from all different cultures and countries, it's very different from country to country. Because
Right.
here in Scandinavia, it's very big to be on time. It's
Mhm.
considered extremely rude if you, I mean, like it's rude. I mean, in any, I mean, it is just like common courtesy. But here, especially, it's more common to be 5 minutes early than to be 5 minutes late. And in America, I feel like it really depends on you as a it just depends, right? In Mexico, I mean, I've called it Mexico Standard Time
Mexico's.
because they're always an hour late to everything. How is it in the Filipino culture? Is it
Oh,
similar to anything like that?
our culture, we're late. It's like Filipino time. It's the same thing. It's the same fucking excuse in every single culture. I'm sorry. If you're fucking late, that's rude. Period.
Yeah.
Your culture taught you bad habits and giving you a justification of why you can show up late and you
Yeah.
don't keep your fucking word. You're out of integrity. I'm sorry.
But I mean, like I said, it is a cultural thing though. So
It
like that
is.
makes sense. It's just funny.
Back
Yeah.
to tips. Okay. So yeah, prioritize self-care.
Yeah.
Which means being on time, honey. Learn the next one is so important. Learning to say no. And
Ooh,
honestly, this is a muscle that you really have to build, especially for my people pleasers out there, right? Saying no is powerful.
yeah.
Being a decline to requests that don't align with your priorities or your values. I can't tell you how much I've really put this into place in my life the last couple of months. Just the last couple of months, I'm learning to say no. I'm learning to be a decline. I'm learning to counter offer, making sure that it aligns with my structure that I've created for myself, right? Like how you said before, how you were helping Grizel, you were helping me, and then you were also trying to help yourself. It's like you have to learn how to be a decline to things. Like, hey, do you want to go out to dinner? Sorry, I'm a decline. And you don't even have to explain why. It's just like, I'm a decline. I'm a no. Sorry, no.
Actually started doing this also a couple of years ago. I want to say I've been doing that for the past like 3 years maybe, because there are certain things I just don't want to do. And we are too old to then like to stir drama up because someone says no, that they don't want to do something. People will still be like a little sour if you say no to certain things, but like,
It goes back to those friends that, they do communicate with you that they're like, hey, I'm gonna say no, but please keep inviting me. Take
right.
responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. If you say that, that is so powerful to say, like, I can today, but like, thank you for inviting me. Like, I will join you next time. Right now, I just can't. And also, I feel like for me, I used to make excuses in the past where like I didn't want to go, but like it was because I just was mentally so drained emotionally. Like I was just struggling with like my anxiety or whatever it was, but I didn't say that. I just said, no, I'm not feeling well or whatever. And I have started being so transparent with my friends, especially the ones that know me and know what I've been through. I would rather them know so that they don't think that I'm just like, I don't know, I'm a bad liar, too. So, which is easier over text. But yeah, no, I've just started being completely honest if, there's something I wish I could do, but I don't know, in the past, maybe I was embarrassed to actually say like I'm not feeling okay today. Like I don't want to see anyone. I would rather lay in bed and cry than go do something. And I have now started like being honest. Bless you.
Thank you. Yeah, I really, that is respectable. That is something that you are taking responsibility for and you are just being honest. And whether they like it or not, that's on you. Because you really want people to like you. You want to be invited. You want to be accepted. It's the whole thing of like love and belonging. But
Mhm.
really now you're just more aware because we're 30 and we're more self-aware.
Same,
And I feel like, yeah, in my 30s now, I feel more powerful than ever.
same.
Um,
Are
yeah,
we at
just
mid 30s now? When is it
we're
mid
not
30s?
mid. We're still early 30s. Mid 30s is what, 35? We're 33.
No, but then like right after, when is it late? You know what I mean? Like
Late 30s is like 38. Late 30s for me, I'm gonna say when I'm in my late 30s, I'm 39.
I mean, I just turned 20, 33. 23.
23. So next tip is seek support. Surround yourself with people who respect your boundaries and provide emotional support. And I this is self-explanatory, but honestly, it's really important for you to have and build a community around you. For a long time, I thought I was alone because I'm a single mom. I don't have anybody. I don't have a partner right now. I don't, like I'm alone. Woe is me. No, I'm not alone. I have a great community around me of friends, family, and because I choose to have it, right?
Yeah.
As before, it was kind of like this lone wolf type of mentality. But now I'm just like, I'm not alone. If I need help, I can reach out to this person, this person, this person. If somebody says no, I'm not making it mean like they don't like me, they don't want to help me. It's just like, no, they can't right now. So I'm gonna ask somebody else. So that
Mhm.
is how I have been able to support myself and also just make sure that I communicate it with my friends that if I'm in a space where I need somebody to hold space for me, please do so and not make it about you
Mhm.
because it's about me right now. And I need it to be about me.
I'm holding the ball right now. Have you seen Pitch Perfect?
I have.
I have the pitch pipe. It's my
Yeah.
turn.
It's my turn. Next tip is reevaluate regularly. So,
Mm.
as your circumstances and needs change, reevaluate and adjust your boundaries accordingly. And this is so important because life is constantly changing and your circumstances are constantly changing. And just checking in, I do a check-in every month to make sure that what I'm doing right now still supports what my goals are in the future. The leadership program I'm in, it supports me in the things that I want to accomplish in my life. And it helps me get out of my way of things that used to stop me in the past of why I wasn't creating what I wanted to create, just
Mm-hmm.
like this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no way in hell you would have caught me doing this like 2 years ago. Like there's no way.
Good
Yeah.
for us. Look at us. Good for you. Good for us. Because like the fact that you wanted to do it now is also good for me. That's why I said good for us.
I know. Right. And again, it's like meet us where we are and where we're ready. And when we're ready, honey, like you're just gonna start flourishing. And I think you and I are flourishing in this space because you are an aesthetic queen and our Instagram looks so beautiful. Whereas I kind of just I have so many ideas and I just have so many things that I want to do and create. And I just kind of am doing it and posting it on the internet.
Yeah, but
And just
like you're a like when you put your mind to something, you're just like, okay, I want to do this, and then you find 10 different things, and then like let's choose one. You're also very proactive, and I think it works with us because I I mean I can do those things too, but I just love that you're like, no, I want to do it, so I'm gonna do it now. Like I will do all the things. I could do all the things, right? Like I'm so used to it from all my degrees at work and everything. But like,
being the
I was,
only person that does the shit in the projects,
oh my God. Do you
group
remember,
projects.
that scene from Raya, The Last Dragon, when you haven't seen it? Dude, it's so good. You
I
need to
think we already know this that you're gonna ask me about a movie scene and I'm just gonna be like, no. And then you're gonna be so
Animated movie. I feel like Mason would love that movie. You need to watch it right now
he
after we.
probably watched it. Dude, did I tell you he watched the whole season? He watched all of Stranger Things. I didn't
He
even
did
know that. Yeah, and he's seen it and
it.
he's like, I don't like it.
Oh, Mason.
I just
What?
got Netflix, by the way.
And
Have I watched anything? No. Um, but
you're not
I
watch
plan
Stranger
on watching the Stranger Things.
by yourself.
Yes.
We watched like the first two episodes, and she was literally squeaking the whole time. She's like, eh.
I
So
hate
okay,
this.
I believe that when I see it.
I hate suspense. Suspense, scary movies. I can't. I
Harry
can't.
and Harry Potter isn't that scary. It's rated R, I think. But yeah, there's a lot of suspense. There is. So I'll give you that. But she was also like screaming. But what I was gonna say from that movie is that Sisu, that's the name of the dragon, she's like, oh, that group project, because everyone thinks like she's like the most powerful dragon of them all. That's why she survived. And like, when you do like a group project and like you don't do anything, but you still get all the credit, that's what happened to me. Like,
Hold on. Okay. So you were saying that you take on majority of the project. And so what you love about me is that I just like one thing about me and Henrietta, since she's been working with me, if I have an idea, I'm fucking acting on it. Like, better believe, like, I'm just like, oh my God, I love this. I have this idea. It's done in 10 minutes. It's already posted on social media. And I'm already just texting her, like, hey, I did the thing.
or she's like, I have an idea. Here are 20 different things we could do. Choose one, choose five. I'm like,
It
okay.
gets me so excited. This is why I know this is where I'm supposed to be because I get so lit up by it. It's ridiculous. Well, I've already learned patience, but I have to continue to practice patience.
You're a mother. You practice patience every single day.
Just like I want my career to skyrocket and it will slowly but surely. But yeah, I just am like I have this idea. I have to execute it right now, this minute. Let's go.
I feel like it's funny, like you already have another career, like you're a nurse, but I feel like both of our careers, like the ones that we kind of always wanted or we didn't know what we wanted to do until now, like we're late bloomers. Like we're kind of starting now, whereas most of my friends have already been established in their career for the past like 5, 10 years.
Right. I
Um,
think the difference is, at least for me, is my career was influenced by my family and my culture, and it was influenced by the fact that I had a child and I had to make money somehow. and stabilize myself. So that's where my career came in. And also, I didn't know what the hell I wanted. I wasn't like my mom didn't really talk to me about career. I mean, she did, which she pushed the nursing thing. But it wasn't like like you, like your parents are supportive in whatever it is that you want to do for yourself. And so that's kind of like where that career came up. And so now I'm kind of just discovering what I'm passionate about and what I like. That is where I'm at right now. And also, I just want to say that people don't become millionaires in their 30s. They are nowadays, but the real millionaires and billionaires, they come up at like 60, 70, 50, between their 50s to 70s. So I think we're on the right path.
And I also keep seeing a lot of videos on social media of the timeline. And this goes with like for women, there's like that timeline of like when you're supposed to be married, when you're supposed to have a kid or kids and settle down, etc. But I also see a lot of these, not just like career wise, but just like finding yourself and like when you get like your break, your big break in life, right? And I don't know. I feel like that looks different for everyone. But recently, as recent as this morning, there was a video that just popped up on my feed on Instagram, and it was a video of a woman, and it was just listing different celebrities, actors, business moguls, artists, I mean, everything. And it was all from like 30 35, I think, plus up to like 50 years old. I think the oldest one was Morgan Freeman. Then he was 50 when he actually got like his break in Hollywood. 50 years old. We have time. But, society and everyone around you, it's hard. It really is. But everyone has a different timeline. And that is something that I have tried to keep telling myself because especially with being back in Norway in my hometown where everyone around me, everyone has, they're established. They have house, kids, a partner, a job, etc. And I'm like, I don't have any of those things, but I don't want that. And that's important for me to keep telling myself because it shouldn't matter what anyone else thinks. Like it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. But it's hard not to think about it because it's always around you, you know?
Yeah. You've kept yourself in a space where you're okay. You're accepting where you're at in life and it's okay. And there's nothing wrong with it. Okay. Just know that you're perfect, whole, and complete the way that you are and the way that you're not. And it's going to come. And I want to say, like, with what we're doing now, it's supporting you in your journey of where you're supposed to be. And I love that you say everybody does have a timeline, and it's so true. And I think that you and we're building something more solid, whereas it's not going to be like a 15 minutes of fame type of deal. We're building from the ground up. And so it's not like this is a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing.
For me, it's important to do something for myself and not work for someone else. Like I want to be, obviously, if I were offered a job at like a big company right now, I would probably take it and at least see, because I've never worked in like corporate, whatever. Um, but ultimately, I want to work for myself. Like that's why I've started two businesses because that's what I want to do. But it comes at its cost, right? Because I could never afford to buy a house. I don't have a 401k. There are a lot of things that I don't have because of the choices I've made in my life. And some people might judge me for that. And I might judge people for choosing something else, and that's okay. Like right now, yes, I'm okay with being here because it's not easy. But when you've already been through something like that, then you just get a different perspective. And I think also it comes with age because like I've said before, I just don't give a fuck anymore. It's my motto in life. I just
Yes,
don't.
honey, preach it.
There is one thing that I have been saying for the past, I don't know how many years. You don't know what you don't know. That is something that is huge for me because when I was younger, I was embarrassed if I didn't know the answer to something. And now I'm like, I don't know. Teach me. Like help me understand. Like I want to learn more. Like I am curious. Like I feel like that's a very good trait to have for everyone. Just like be curious and you want to learn more and be okay with not knowing. And then you live and you learn because once you've learned something, you're never going to be the same. You're always going to keep evolving. And then to not give a fuck what anyone thinks. If people have opinions on you, that's their problem.
Right. It's none of your business what their opinion is about you, anyways.
Yeah, it's none of their business what you're doing with your life.
Exactly. And I just want to remind everybody, reminder, okay? We are all experiencing life at the same time. This is our first time experiencing life right now, just like you.
Mm,
Take it the fuck easy, okay?
like a chill pill.
Not that serious. You could die tomorrow.
Right. That's what I keep saying too. Like, especially told my parents because, they've been through the ringer with me over the past 13 years. And they keep telling me, like, when is your life gonna start? And I'm like, well, if I die tomorrow, I literally have done everything in my power to live the life I truly want. Like I don't know. I don't know where I would be. I probably would be suicidal if I just like didn't ever try to live out my dreams or to pursue my dreams. But that's just me. Like some people might feel differently. Like they might be okay with, I wish I would have done this, but like I still love my life and that's okay. But for me, I just be remiss if I didn't just try. And I'm not finished. I'm gonna keep trying until like my last breath.
And you're gonna do it, honey, because I'm your friend and I'm not gonna let you live a life that you don't love.
All right. Thank you.
Period. Let's getting back into boundaries. So boundaries look different in every relationship, right? We've already talked about how they look with friends. But let's talk a little bit about how they look in romantic partnerships. I'm a very selfless person. And so, again, it turns back into the people pleasing tendency. And so, one thing in my romantic relationships that I failed to do was prioritize myself. I always prioritize the relationship. I lose myself in relationships. I
Mhm.
put all my time and effort into them and what they're doing. And so in my this recent relationship, I dedicated myself to him and his business and I was helping him build his business. And so for a time I resented it because I was like, I'm helping you and I am not helping myself. I'm helping you build something great. I'm not doing anything for myself. And I take full responsibility of that because again, it goes back to I didn't really have a structure for myself. I didn't really even know what I wanted for myself. So I focused on him, I focused on the relationship, and I just put everything that I had into that. Because also, like, I loved him and I saw a future with him. Yeah, I didn't really have anything for myself. And so that's what I had to do. I had to reflect
Mhm.
and figure out who I am and what I want in my life. Moving forward, I would, you know, have my thing going on and he would have his thing going on. And yeah, maybe we'd help each other out, but at the same time, we're still focusing on ourselves and our own individual like businesses. Another thing that my relationships have lacked in was communicating clearly. We didn't really know how to communicate our needs. I have anger issues or I had anger issues. So I would tend to kind of just react out of anger and didn't know how to communicate effectively and clearly and in a loving way where it's kind of just like, hey, I don't really have the space for that. I would love to help you, but I just can't right now. I need to focus on myself.
Mhm.
And so then again, I would spiral into guilt and shame. And that was one of the things. And another thing that I didn't build around myself, well, I had community around me, but I didn't have community where it was more of a safe space. It was more of a space for gossip. And so I couldn't really trust anybody. And yeah, things just weren't confidential. And so I really now have like my core people around me that I can go to, that I can share things with, and they won't judge me. They won't try to fix me. They won't, just make me wrong for things. Um, and I really value my friends,
Mhm.
and what they contribute to me as an individual. So I didn't really have that in the past, and all I had was him and
Mhm.
trying to get everything from him. And so it was, and again, I can see the effect that it had on him in his life. What I wasn't getting from him also was just that support. And also, again, it's the communication where he also wasn't communicating clearly with me. It was both ways, right? And so he didn't know how to communicate effectively with me either. There was just no consistency of boundaries in the relationship. And when we did start to learn boundaries, it was just like hard boundaries. Like I'm putting like it's kind of like you're putting up a stone wall and like you can't get through because that shit's so fucking sturdy. Like you put so much cement on that shit, you can't get through it. You can't knock the wall down. So like you just have these walls build up. And so that's something that I noticed too in my relationships is where, yeah, I mean, you just get so traumatized by the past and you hold on to these resentments and it alters your experience with that person to where you can no longer put your guard down. And
Mhm.
so that really affects the relationship.
Yeah.
And so those are things that I've really come to notice. There's so many things that I've learned in romantic relationships, um, that I now learning to be on the healthier side and learn how to communicate and learn how to
Mhm.
contribute and where I can and also focus on self-care. I've just learned so much.
Are you the type of person that when you have a boyfriend, I mean, I feel like I probably know the answer because you did say that your whole like relationship was about him. Do you then kind of exclude yourself from your other friends and you only have friends within your relationship? Or did you not like prior to the one that you had before?
In this past relationship, I developed this mentality of if you're not trying to improve yourself, like you're nothing. Like you just don't add value to my life. And I was in on this like high horse of like, I'm better than you. And so
Oh,
I really dropped all of my friends that I've had and I stuck to his circle. And honestly, like after the breakup, I practically broke up with everybody because they were his friends, they weren't mine. And so at the end, it kind of just ended up being like, fuck, well, I'm alone now. All these people that I thought were my friends, they weren't my friends, they were his friends, and that's okay.
you learn from it.
Yeah, I did learn from it, not just this past relationship, other relationships as well. I would just focus on him, be around his friends, and then like my friends kind of just, yeah, they're just like, oh yeah, she's in a relationship. We'll see her later. Um,
Wow. I mean, I have had friends in the past and that have done that too. And I have friends who used to do that with their boyfriends, like back in high school and stuff, where when they had a boyfriend, we're like, oh, okay, we'll see her maybe sometime next year. I don't know, or after they break up. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty normal, but it's still important that you now are acknowledging that that was the case, and hopefully it won't happen again because now you're learning so much and like you're developing more as a person by yourself and not who you are in a relationship.
Hi friends, if you're listening, I'm
Yeah,
not going to do that anymore. Toxic cycle done.
he's there. Would you ever work with your boyfriend again?
Um, it
With
depends.
his work. If he had his own business, like your ex did, and he was like, "Can you work with me or for me, whatever the capacity would be," would you do it again?
I wouldn't work for him. I would be in partnership with him. And what that would look like would be us creating boundaries and just kind of, when you create a safe word for things, kind of just having those things in place just to make sure that the relationship doesn't get affected. And we'll know when to pull back when, like, if things do get too heated or whatever the case may be. Um, but yeah, I would work with my boyfriend if that were the case. And also, like, yeah, now I know how to set boundaries. And also, I have my own thing going on. So I wouldn't fully like delve into his stuff. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. But I know that I would not abandon myself again. That's what I know for sure.
Yeah.
Because I love myself. All right, guys. So we learned so much about boundaries today. And just remember, setting boundaries can be challenging, especially if you're used to putting others first before your own needs, right? People pleasers. It's essential to practice self-compassion, assertiveness, and boundary reinforcement techniques.
Absolutely. And remember that boundaries are not about building walls, like we talked about, but about creating healthy spaces for growth, connection, and most importantly, mutual respect.
Yeah, and you can refer back to the tips whenever you want. And also, please comment down below if there's anything that we missed and you feel like we should talk about next time. So as we wrap up, we encourage you to reflect on your boundaries and make adjustments as needed. Share your stories, seek support, and prioritize your well-being. Next week, we have a really fun episode for you guys. We'll be testing out Norwegian snacks. Well, we were visiting in Sweden for Henrietta's birthday. We filmed in our hotel room and we gathered all the snacks that I accumulated over the days. And because I'm so American, I carried all the snacks in this giant bag, and I feel like her parents were just looking at me like, what the hell is she doing?
First of all, it was just a 2-hour drive, and Heather brought enough snacks for like a 10-hour road trip. Which is like, it's a road trip, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I never thought about that, because we just wouldn't bring anything on a short drive like that, even on like 5 hours. So that is something that we talked about. But when we do road trips in Norway, we will stop and eat and then go. We won't like buy a bunch of snacks and just have it in the car. But Heather did, and that made for a fun episode because we tried a bunch of snacks.
You definitely don't want to miss this episode. I think it's so funny. And Henrietta had me try, like, it's her favorite candy, and I hate to yuck her yum, but it, like, you'll have to see it for yourself. But
I tried your favorite chip, which almost made me gag. So I think we're even.
We're even Steven. All right, guys, that's a wrap. See you next week.
Yay, see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Love ya.
Oh, God. What is going on? Okay.
Hey, thanks for listening. We hope you got some takeaways from today's episode.
You can also follow us on Instagram and YouTube at 30s Unfiltered, or email us at 30sunfiltered@gmail.com.
Please leave us a like, comment, and subscribe to our channels. See you next time.